Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast, episode 1098. This is my interview with Brittany Gowan, and we're discussing her new book, Turn to the Sun, a journey of stress management. Enjoy. Hello, Brittany, and welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here with you today.
All the way there in New York City.
Yes, yeah. It's winter, but nice out, so no complaints here.
Yeah, awesome. Born and bred there?
No, I grew up in Syracuse, New York, which is about 4 hours north, but I've been here for 15 years, and I was always around the city when I was growing up, so it feels like it's always been home. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What would you say the most favorable parts of New York are?
I would say there's, the big buildings are always the draw, but then if you go down to near where I live, it's called the Village, and you get the tree-lined streets. It's very classic New York with the brownstones, and it's a part that people think about when it comes to New York or Soho. So, we got a lot here. We got a lot of greenery and a bunch of big buildings. So we got the mix.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Well, congratulations. You've got a lot going on, but you've just launched a book called Turn to the Sun, Your Guide to Release Stress and Cultivate Better Health Through Nature. Stress management, I suppose, is the gist there. Why is this an important topic for you?
It's important for me because it also comes out of a personal practice. For definitely since the past 15 years of living in New York, I've connected with nature in a different way. Obviously, we don't have as much greenery as suburbia does. And I've had more stress than I did growing up in college and all of that. And I think that connecting with nature is a great way to release stress, and it has really supported me, and it's supported the people that I work with my stress management programs. And I thought that by writing a book can also share my teachings on a broader scale, and also a way for people to pick up and put down the teachings and carry it with them when they need a moment to connect to themselves, connect to nature. And so I was motivated to write the book.
Okay, so you've done this practice yourself to help manage your stress, and then you do coaching as well, so you help other people through stress management practices as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. And my background is in psychology, and so in sports coaching, and they all came together with this newer form in the past many years of focusing on stress management and seeing the benefits that I've experienced, and then bringing in my psychology and then executive coaching background as well to have a path to personal growth and progress with a nature-centered calming lens.
Okay, so you've sort of niched down and into this sort of field of using nature to help with stress management, or is that just part of what you do to help coach?
It's part of it. It always weaves its way in. So I'll focus on stress management with breath work, or we'll focus on personal goal achievement. But I'll always bring in a nature reference to have that recognizable and calming framework for my clients.
Okay. With stress, I suppose stress in society at the moment and anxiety, what's your view on that at the moment in the world that we live in?
Yeah, I think it's tough because we live in a very fast-paced and very connected world, and it is easy to feel as though we don't have time to pause. We see a lot of people, we see their successes, let's say on social media. So it looks like, everyone's on the grind, and we always have to be on that grind. I can definitely say that from city life. But with that, it comes burnout. And I think that we're kind of on this wheel that it doesn't feel like breaks are what we should be doing, but taking breaks and definitely connecting with nature allows you to actually be your best self and help your mental state, which is some of the first to, I think, start to go when we're feeling run down, we're feeling burned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that too, and I certainly feel it in my own life, is the stress and anxiety of constantly go, and how much do we want to achieve? And you look out there and people are achieving things, so you have this tendency to try and follow and align yourself with that level. But there is definitely need for balance in my life, and I know in a lot of people's lives. So dealing with stress is important. What do you see as the impacts of stress in people's lives at the moment, or maybe the people you work with even? How is it impacting them?
Yeah, I think that it obviously can affect their mental state, and that can also then affect their relationships, their work, their goals. I think that for one main reason, when we are overstressed, we're less able to deal with things coming at us, whether we could normally deal with it and it's just we're overwhelmed and we're not dealing with it in the way we wish to. I think that it's that our minds are great for us, and we can control them, but once they start to let loose, it's hard to regain control. And I think that because we live in such an interconnected and fast-paced world, that's why we need these like kind of stoppers to say, hey, like I need to reset. I need a moment for myself. And normally, our brains, we can only think about one thing at once, even though our brains move quickly. And like just having that pause, that reset, is very helpful, and it's benefited my clients and definitely helped their mental well-being.
Do you think we just take on too much generally? Because of what you've just said, we're all so connected and we look at other people, what they're doing and achieving, and we think then, okay, well, I've got to do X, Y, and Z, and maybe life puts all this pressure on us to have families and to both work as a husband and wife, and there's a lot of external pressures. But do you think we personally put too much on our plates unnecessarily?
Probably either we do it on purpose or we don't know we're doing it. But I think that there is we're in a society of like multitasking. So you're used to be doing many things at once. I could definitely say would work, like you're working on a variety of projects. Well, that probably carries over into your personal life too. Maybe you're doing some things with family, some things with friends, and you're trying to be physically active. And at the end of the day, we only have so much time. But I do think there is a viewpoint of that everyone's doing so much, like I said, and you don't want to be not doing what other people are doing, especially since everything is so shared now. And I think that I can say even when I was growing up or when I was in college, like I definitely feel like I was always active, but I never was doing, I felt like too much. And I feel like some of the younger people I work with now, they are probably doing too much for what they need to be doing, and they recognize it, but that's just what they've grown up in and what they're seeing. So I definitely seen, there are a ton of changes, and I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say doing too much, and I really have been reflecting on this myself for quite a bit as it's the start of the year, what's necessary and important, what's not. And I think there's probably a lot that we do that's maybe unnecessary, right? Not important, but we do it out of a feel of obligation that if we don't, something's going to be missing.
Right. Or you are, certain relationships and where you are wanting to please the people, or this can be personal or professional. I mean, I can say for working for myself for many years, like you have to have that balance. And I think sometimes working for yourself, people think you always have free time, and yes, maybe you can make time, but that something else then doesn't, there's not time for that. So I've definitely had to figure out how to be able to say yes to people or no, or just like projects and assignments and prioritizing. And it's not even to say what you're prioritizing for what you want to do the most. It's just what your mental bandwidth, and what you think that you can achieve and feel satisfied from. And I think this is a time of year when we all think about that again.
Yeah, absolutely. You said maybe people deliberately put more on their plate than they need to, like on purpose?
I think it's a societal thing. No, I don't think on purpose. I mean, sometimes on purpose. I think that some clients that I work with, if you put more on your plate, you think you will get more from it. You think that if you have more options, but being able to delegate and then succeed or finish or whatever it is, all of these things. Like I have clients that come and say, I want to be working on this related to personal development, but there's like 5 branches of it. And they all have the same level of importance in their mind, which I understand. But, we need to pick one. And normally when we start off with one, it supports the other. And it kind of goes back to nature of like creating this like solid foundation. And then you can branch off from there. But when you have so many things on one plate that you're trying to juggle, things start to, get lost. So I try to use those kind of like nature references of saying, you have to like kind of build your stem first and then let your branches branch off. So.
You must have a lot of tools that you use to help people deal with stress in their lives. And before we get into using nature to help manage it, what are some of the other key tools that you recommend or teach?
Yeah, I feel like when we say we want to like break a bad habit, I don't really feel like we break habits. I feel like we replace them. So that's something that I work on with my clients, where we're not focusing on the negative of a certain thing that we want to leave behind or change, but we want to say, what can we replace it? What can we put in the space instead of it? And that's something that I've found is very helpful to people to start to look at their lives and say, okay, these are the things I want to change, but what can I, as a positive thing, so your mind connects it to a good association of what am I adding instead of what am I taking away? So that's something that I really like to focus on, especially early on.
What do you do? Meditation and things like that?
For myself, or yeah.
Well, I guess for yourself, and I guess if you do it, you probably preach it.
Yeah. For myself, I like to do like a guided, imaginative journey meditations, and they're the style that I wrote about in the book, where I'll imagine that I'm in a certain setting, maybe it's a beach, and I'll walk myself through the scene and I'll notice the details, focusing on the colors, the textures, how I'm feeling, what time of day is it. And that's the kind of guided meditations I'll use with my clients. And maybe we do like a body scan with that as well, basically allowing them to start to build out in their imagination certain scenes and seeing how they can create this inner calm and also have an expanded perspective. And that's what I like to use with myself as well. I think living in a big city, you can get really isolated in just the grind of it all. And I like to think, okay, like what's in the rainforest today, and just having that perspective of outside of your little big world, whatever you're in. And I use that for my clients as well, just to get out of whatever is going on in their mind, whatever's going on in their daily life, and having that broader perspective. And I bring in nature as our reference.
Yeah. Okay. The journey through like that imagination process, is that like a calming sort of like journey into, situations that are, for the individual calming or bring that sort of feel to it? Or are they sort of any journey?
Well, it can be any, but it's definitely directed towards calm and also connection to oneself and your body. I do some breathing practices as we go into it, and then reoccurring throughout the way. And it's also training your mind to take control of the moment. So if I ask my clients too, like when other thoughts come up that are maybe challenging or things that are it's just on your mind, practice acknowledging those feelings and then letting them, drift by and coming back to the present moment. So it's also a practice of staying in the present moment, having the conversations and thoughts in your mind be what you want them to be, and then releasing others that aren't serving you. And again, that nature-centered lens, and we use that as like our background.
Okay. And with the body scan, what does that look like? A body scan through the meditation?
Yeah, so we go through the different body parts and breathing in to those certain body parts. I tend to like to have someone imagine maybe they're sitting on a beach or again in some natural setting, and then we go through the different body parts and breathe in and breathe out and practice, imagining that you're relaxing the muscles. Again, you can also actually tense, which sometimes we do, and then release. So it's both of those through intentional thought and then through physical movement.
Okay. Cool. So let's talk about nature. I think a lot of people are starting to tune into this, that nature's good. But where do we start with nature and stress management?
Yeah, well, I think nature is a resource for perennial calm, and we can always access nature, whether it is a small piece of nature near you, or like we were just talking about, through intentional thought, imagining that you're back in a setting that you enjoy. And when you're in nature, there's so much science around the fact that we are less likely to ruminate and worry. And it is a time when it creates this, I think nature creates this pause for us and allowed us to just breathe, be present, and really connect to ourselves again. So in a nutshell, that's the biggest part, I think.
Why do we have a tendency naturally to not worry when in nature? What is it there? What's the science there that's helping drive that, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I mean, the color green is obviously very calming, and it's a world that's not that doesn't create hyperness. You know, it's there's studies where if you put a person in greenery, or you put a person in like a concrete jungle like New York, that feelings of stress and anxiety increase when you're looking at concrete and buildings, and when you're in greenery, and there's nothing, like aggressive feeling, that your levels of adrenaline and cortisol lower, and you feel improved mood, and you're calmer. And
is that because of the green, as opposed to the not green? Or, I mean, because sometimes I think in like a forest or a jungle, for many of us, it'd be very unfamiliar now, and you might be, anxious about what's going to come out of the trees, or.
Well, right. You have to be not in a threatening place. I was going to add it. I mean, yes, if you're in a setting that you don't know what kind of animals or other things are in it, obviously then the level of your alertness is going to stay up. But in general, when you're in nature, your body switches into the parasympathetic nervous system. You go into rest and digest, and you're not in fight or flight. Your body knows that there isn't a imminent danger. So I don't know. I'm sure you've felt that in nature when you've been, in a setting.
I love going into nature, and I should do more of it.
Yeah. Well, even if you're walking on the street, I think that noticing, I mean, what I also teach is about noticing the little details in your daily life, like noticing flowers at a bank or at a grocery store parking lot, like those little pieces that are placed there for beauty, but that can get passed by. And that if we get in the mindset of really being mindful of nature and noticing it and taking a moment just to pause, it doesn't have to be a big, like, committed thing. Just say, oh, that's an interesting, like, color pink on that flower. Just that awareness. I believe, from what I've experienced and how I've worked with people, that those little things that you can recreate that make a difference. I mean, with goal setting and coaching in general, creating like these small little sustainable steps that allow people to continue a practice and not make it feel as if it's not sustainable or achievable. So those little things of creating pauses and nature can help.
Yeah, for sure. The practice of walking into nature. Oh, actually, I'll just go back to your point on just observations. And again, that's around mindfulness, isn't it? Really, being able to walk down the street and notice the birds and the bees and the flowers and all that sort of stuff, rather than just straightforward to the bank and thinking about the stress of your money, rather than just enjoying the process of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mindfulness practice. What in nature, when they talk about, connecting with the earth and our senses, so feeling the wind, touching the trees, having your feet in the dirt. What's the science there that is actually beneficial for us as humans?
Yeah, well, I mean, with our feet, we have so many sensory receptors that it is a great way to, like I always say, like get out of your head and into your feet. Like if you're in sand or if you're in grass, you're moving your toes around. It changes the signals being sent to your brain. And and I have people like practice even imagining that they're in sand or they're in grass, and just that idea of moving your toes, not allowing whatever's in your mind to continue. But obviously, if you're in the setting, it's even better. And that sensory perception, that sensory connection. Obviously, that's how we connect to humans, and how we can make connections, and that's how we connect to nature. And I mean, I can remember being in like certain settings and how my feet felt in certain places, or what leaves felt like as I touched them, and those physical connections stay with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I find there's some sort of charge or energy displacement when you sort of walk out into nature and connect with the earth directly.
Right, exactly.
Have you studied much in that field, or?
I mean, I haven't done personal like research. I mean, I've read a fair amount about it, and I know, and I believe it, and that is part of what has helped me so much, and how I, if you go outside, like when I first moved to New York, I would go outside. I worked in the Chrysler Building in a sales job, and I would go into this park, and I would immediately feel that transfer of energy to me that was calm and connected and removed from the setting that I was just in. So yes, I think that a lot of people have had these experiences. We just have to like pinpoint, oh yeah, that was that moment when I felt that way. And then you see the value.
Yeah, of course. So just getting into nature. I mean, you talk about getting into nature in the sense of meditation as well, like, thinking about being in nature can have its benefits as well. And I guess that's at times potentially when you can't get out there, like if it's really, I don't know, wet or snowing or something like that, or if you're at an airport and, you've got 12 hours on a plane. Is that something that you'd advise as well?
Yeah. And in different settings, like I work with some people who are in LA and traffic's really bad, anxiety can really skyrocket during those times. And I say, imagine that you're whatever you like if you like the redwood forest, imagine when you're stuck in traffic, you're in the redwoods or wherever you are, if you're waiting in line at an airport. And it doesn't have to be some grand landscape, just something that's familiar and calming. And it's something that I've done for years. I mean, growing up, being an athlete, I got most of this from my mom, who taught meditation and mindfulness to healthcare patients. And she was like my second coach in all my sports. And she would encourage me to, feel that calm no matter what my setting was. And then, she was the one who encouraged me to have those kind of nature connections in those moments when you can't, maybe it's stressful, or maybe you just have to wait. And there's those anxious experiences that you can go back to nature in your mind and use your breath at the same time.
Yeah, love it. Turn to the sun. Why the sun? Why turn to the sun? Is it, I guess the sun is...
Yeah, well, I think...
is all of it.
Yeah, I mean, plants turn to the sun for growth. I mean, sunflowers, when they're younger, they go from east to west in the field. And I think it's also a metaphor for people's lives, like turn to what is good and hopeful in your own life. And there's sunshine has many forms. It can be the sun, it can be plants and nature, it can be people, it can be your pets, and noticing what is bringing light into your life and really like leaning towards that.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's been a lot of, I've heard a lot more recently, maybe it's just because my attention's there, but on getting sun on you during the day and having the early morning sunlight into your eyes as well, as far as benefits for the health.
Yeah. I mean, I encourage the people that I coach that when they wake up in the morning, I mean, everyone like maybe turns an alarm off, or, they go to the news or whatever it is. And I encourage people just to try to get out of bed. And if you can look outside, whatever nature is out there, or even looking at the blue sky and just allowing your eyes to focus on something natural before you get into your day, and allowing yourself to embrace the morning and not get into the cycle of what I have to do next. And, when we first wake up, whatever we connect to early on is what our brain is going to want again for dopamine later on. So if we are using our phones early, then or later on when we're tired, we need like a kick of energy. It's like, oh, my phone can give me energy. So I've tried to help some of my clients reprogram to say, okay, like, so throughout the day, if you feel like you're in a slump, your mind starts to say, okay, I need to go outside for 5 minutes instead of maybe I need to eat or I need to look at my phone or watch TV or something like that. So kind of getting rid of technology when you first initially wake up and turning towards the natural world.
Yeah, that's a good point. How you start anything is how you finish everything is sort of what that brings me to, which I like to live by. So, look, congratulations on your book, Turn to the Sun, Your Guide to Release Stress and Cultivate Better Health Through Nature. I'm going to stick a link in the show notes. So for guys listening out there, guys and girls, check it out. It'll be in the show notes. You can grab a copy of that. Brittany Gowan can be found at brittanygowan.com. Is there any other avenues where people can reach out to you, Brittany?
And I'm on Instagram at Brittany Gowan again. And then I have another one's called Pause with Plants, which is my photography. So if you'd like either one of those.
Yeah, and your book's filled with photography too, isn't it? This new book you released.
Yeah, it was very nice to have that connection of that passion to be able to bring it into the book and close up photography for people to practice mindfulness with intimate, botanical photography.
Awesome. I love your work. Thank you for coming on the show today, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Guys, check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families. You can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcast. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link, it helps support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name's Lee Martinuzzi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.